What's up, man?
Not too much. How you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah, doing a little better. Got a little pep in my step today.
Thank God for Dearness Johnson.
Yeah, no kidding. So, real talk. How many trade offers do you think the Browns get for him?
Why not
feel
just play? Why not play with three, considering the fact that injuries are abundant? Why not be the first team with a three-headed monster?
Well, because we also have Felton, who we just drafted, who I think would be pretty good too. I don't know. I don't know if you can honestly rotate three running backs effectively, but they've done it pretty well with two, I guess.
Here's the other thing. Like, not to take away from Nick Chubb because he's the horse, right? And we all knew Kareem Hunt was a great back. How good's that line?
Well, and the fun thing about that line is a couple people were playing injured, and we weren't even at full strength. Coughlin was out, so if there's any one strength to the Browns, it's the offensive line, right? You know, it's like that last year. It's like that this year, and it's why Baker Mayfield, if we do sign him long term, can't take $40 million because he needs a line like that. That team with him will need a line like that.
Well, the fact that Case Keenum came in and they won the game, he's if he wants to be a Brown, he's not going to get a $40 million contract.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he needs to realize that. They could go out and get another Baker Mayfield. They could go get Sam Darnold, right? And have pretty much the same thing.
Right. Well, and that's kind of been the thing about Baker. Like I like Baker. I think he fits the team, and I've said that before. I think he fits the city of Cleveland. But yeah, he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Herbert. He's not, he's not Allen. I'd say he's like in the middle of the second tier of quarterbacks, which is totally fine. You can win a Super Bowl with that, especially with a line like that, a running game like that. The defense needs to come together a little bit more.
Right.
But other than that, like, you can win a Super Bowl with a quarterback like Baker. I'm not worried about that. Like I've said before, I mean, I feel it's perfectly within Baker's abilities to do 250 to 300 yards a game, right? And 2 touchdowns and ideally no turnovers. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility or expectation for Baker Mayfield. It kind of leads me to the elephant in the room with wearing the number 13 jersey. What happened to OBJ?
He dove for that ball and landed on his bad shoulder. That's what happened. I mean, and Landry's not in much better shape either, man. Like, he came back into the game. It didn't look like he was going to, though. Like, I don't know what happened to him on that play, but he went out hobbling, and it didn't look good.
Right.
So your top 2 receivers are questionable, right?
But
I think Baker's just, not Baker. I think Beckham's just prone. He's just injury prone, man.
Well, I mean even more than that, because even before he landed on that shoulder, he had 2 or 3 drops. Like, they threw to him, I want to say 6 times, maybe 5-6 times. He straight up dropped the first 3. Like, so it's not Baker's throwing it 15 feet over his head. Like, 2 of them hit him in the hands and he just dropped it. So it's just, he's not the receiver he was 4 or 5 years ago.
No.
And it's just, there's always been kind of this thing in Cleveland, like, is it a chemistry issue with Baker? Does Baker zero in on him too much? Is that the problem? But then Case comes in, and Case, say what you want about Case Keenum. He's a veteran quarterback, and he had trouble connecting with Beckham, right?
I mean, Landry was 5 for 8, though, too. Landry had 8 targets. He only caught 5.
Right, but that's normal, right? That's about what you'd expect. Yeah. But Dearness Johnson, can we just go over his stat line real quick? What is it?
First off, you're welcome.
For what?
Like in every other league, I put in to get him off of waivers, and I was ahead of you on waivers, and I put him number 1. For whatever reason, I didn't fucking go after him in the FYT Fantasy Football League. I have no clue how I made that blunder. So you're welcome.
Yeah, so 24 points, but well, just to make up for it, just because I've been so distracted, I completely played Kareem Hunt in my other league. So that's that's how busy I've been. So the universe kind of evens it out on that one. I checked the other league about halfway through, and I was just like, oh crap, I started Kareem Hunt. So so that's where we are on that. But yeah, I mean, 22 carries for 146 yards, a touchdown, and I think like another 1 or 2 receptions for an additional like 20-ish yards.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the offense. He won that game. I mean, Case was good. Case came in and did what you'd expect a veteran backup quarterback to do. I don't even think he broke 200 yards. I think he was right there, but I don't think he actually broke 200 yards.
199.
199. Yeah. So, but that game was won almost solely on the shoulders of Mr. Johnson, number 30 in your playbooks. So yeah, I mean, the offensive line and Johnson, and I've heard about we do the zone blocking thing that they used in Denver for a really long time. And I almost not that I'm saying we should get rid of Chubb, not that I'm saying we should get rid of Hunt, but I almost wonder if that zone blocking thing is so, because there was a while where that's what was happening in Denver. They would have a running back that would do really great for like 2-3 years. They'd let him go. And then they just bring in whoever who then turn around and put up 1,000-yard seasons for 2-3 years in a row. I don't know. I mean, as far as what this game means, I'm happy the Browns are, above 500. They're 4-3. We got the Bengals playing the Ravens this week, which we'll get to in a little bit. So if, best case scenario, I mean, either way, it's kind of a win-win. Either they'll be at worst tied for second in the division record wise. I'm not going to worry about all the tiebreakers. Or they'll only be a game out of first. So actually, I think if the Bengals, just because they've already beaten the Steelers, if the Bengals win this weekend, they're technically number 1 in the division just by tiebreaker, by division record.
Yeah.
But we get a mini bye headed to Pittsburgh.
No, that's a home game for you.
What'd you say?
It's a home game for you on Halloween.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so all things considered, where we were sitting a week ago, right, for the Browns, I think we're in a pretty good spot, all things considered. Am I saying like, okay, this is it, we've turned the corner? No. But out of all the possible outcomes, we rested a lot of starters. Hopefully, whatever happened with Landry isn't too bad, but Baker's getting rest. We rested a lot of starters. Defense is still a little, they were great in the first half, but that seems to be Denver's MO, is to just not start playing football on offense until the second half. On the flip side, Denver, yikes. I don't even know what you say. Their defense should be a lot better than it is, I feel like, for some reason. Now, granted, Browns didn't put up a ton of points, but that first drive, and I know I said something in the group at the time, and it wasn't even trash talk. That literally I don't think we had any negative. I think our worst play in that opening drive was like a 7-yard run. Like, we just rolled right down the field in like 6 or 7 plays. And it's weird because if you look at their roster, they have talent on every level in that defense. So I don't exactly know what's going on there. Any thoughts on Denver?
I think Vaughn going down hurts them, right? Like he's a leader. So they still got a couple guys out though too. It's just they clawed their way back, made an interesting game. Couldn't get over the hump. Looked like they were going to. It's just one of those things, right? Like, I thought after the first series that the Browns were going to roll up 35, 40 points. So the fact that they held them down to 17, I mean, 17 points in the whole lot. Well, you don't win most games scoring 17 points.
Right.
I
mean, I will say one last thing about the Browns on this game. I think the game, the way it was called, definitely kind of brought some of the shine back to Stefanski. There have been some questionable things that have happened in the last couple of games, but the one thing the Browns definitely need to work on. I mean, injuries you can't really help. You just hope people get better. The penalties. We racked up again. I want to say another 9 penalties or so for 60 yards. That's got to stop. I mean, that's what's killing us. The Cardinals would have won anyway, but it didn't help that we bailed them out 2 separate times with roughing the passer calls. So yeah, they need to work on the penalties. But other than that, as a Browns fan, I'm pretty content with where we are. Mini bye, Pittsburgh at home, who, again, offensively, I'm not real afraid of right now. So, I like our chances to win against Pittsburgh at home. That puts us at, 5-3, and we see where the Cards are after next weekend.
These are 3 pivotal games for the Browns, right? Like your season hinges on it, right? It really does, because you have a gauntlet to finish the season. So these next 3 games are super important. You have the Steelers, you're at Cincinnati, and you're at New England. And I know New England doesn't have Tom Brady and they have a rookie quarterback, but they've put together some impressive play, right? Like they're playing good football, and it's in New England. So these 3, after that, you get a little bit of a reprieve. You get the Lions, but then you go Ravens, Raiders, Packers, Steelers, Bengals.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing. When I was looking at this schedule, right, at the beginning of the year before, I thought the Bengals would still be down. I thought the Steelers would be a little bit better. Yeah, I mean, it's really like there are like the Lions are the closest thing we have to a layup game, right? Like, I don't like to say any team's going to be a definite victory, but if I was to circle one, it's the Lions. I mean, the Patriots we should beat. However, Bill Belichick, Mac Jones is showing flashes. They have some talent. They have a good defense. It's just gonna, we don't have layup games, like we don't. And Cincinnati, going to Cincinnati and then to New England, it's just that's going to be rough. I was originally worried about this stretch because I looked at Pittsburgh and New England. Now I'm worried about it because I'm looking at the Bengals in New England. That's probably about the only thing that's changed. I'm more worried about the Bengals, I should say, than I am about the Steelers.
I think you have to go 2-1 over the next 3 games, right? Theoretically, you got to go 3-1 over the next 4, right? Like, I'm giving you the Lions, right? Like, I'm just going to give the Browns the Lions right now. So the next 3 games, you got to go 2-1. If you go 1-2 and then 2-2, so you're sitting at like 6-5 heading into that stretch, like, that's scary.
Yeah, I mean, the way the schedule's playing out for the Browns, like I said, that's the other reason why sitting here today at 4-3 with that schedule ahead, like, at least I can say the Browns somewhat control their destiny, because we still play our entire division twice. If I'm being realistic, I'm hoping for, I think a realistic outcome will be, assuming we get healthy, assuming no more major injuries. I'm going to say a split with Cincinnati, we sweep Pittsburgh, and a split with the Ravens. I think that's realistic. And I think, that would, not counting what happens in the other games, that's 4-2. So that's 8-5. And you just got to go from there and see what happens. I mean, I'd like to think that sooner or later the Ravens are going to slow down a little bit. I don't see them, without looking at their schedule, I'm sure it's going to get harder. So we'll see. We'll see how they handle the Bengals. I mean, that's probably the game of the week in my book, if for no other reason than it pertains real close to, the fortunes of the Browns. But I'm interested to see that game for a multitude of reasons.
All right.
Yeah. So go Browns, good game. On to week 7 here. So
let's start with Washington and the Packers.
Okay.
It's in Green Bay. I've said this before. I think Washington's defense is not playing up to par. Right. Green Bay's defense is looking a little bit better. Aaron Rodgers is Aaron again, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't see them losing this game. it's Green Bay by 8, which is a big line, right? But I mean, I don't see. I could see them winning by 10 easily, without any trouble whatsoever. They can run the ball, they can pass the ball, and Rodgers is Rodgers. And I don't think Washington has a secondary to contain him whatsoever. Unless Chase Young goes ham and that front line can get to him and get him off the mark a little bit, they're in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Washington, they've I don't know what happened to that defense. And then of course the offense, Fitzpatrick got hurt in week 1. So that whole like gunslinger, fast-paced offense, I think they were planning, just fell by the wayside. Yeah, I think the Packers are just too much. I don't like predicting 10-point victories, so I'll just say a 9-point victory because I won't predict 10-point victories for anybody. But yeah, I mean, and it's at Lambeau. Like, there's just no way. There's like something, catastrophically wrong would have to go for this game even to be like really close in my mind.
Yeah, I don't see it being close at all.
What's Washington get? They're giving up. Like, I feel like I haven't seen a game where they've given up less than like 25 points.
They're giving up a lot. So they've given up 186 points in 6 games. So that's 31 a game.
Yeah. And I don't think playing the Packers and Aaron Rodgers in Aaron mode is going to help that statistic at all. So,
no. And I don't mind seeing Washington lose, right? Because we still don't know what Philly is. They look dread awful in the first 2.5, 3 quarters, and then they start playing football. Like, what the fuck? Number one, and Washington losing is only good for them. Although I'd rather, obviously I want to see them win, but I also like 3 first-round draft picks next year, so I'd like them to be as high as possible. But Washington's not the team I thought they were at the start of the season.
Definitely, I figured they'd at least compete.
Well, they're playing a conference winning schedule. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
their competition is much harder.
Right. Yeah, they've fallen off though, man. It's drastic. Like, I thought they'd at least challenge for I don't see. I know. I don't see the way Dallas doesn't win the East at this point. Like, I just don't see it. Like, I think they'll slow. Like I said with the Ravens, I don't think they're gonna go, the rest of the way and only have the one loss or something, or only lose one other game. But I just don't see. Although with Dallas, looking at their schedule, we looked at it a little bit. We peeked at it last week, and I only see that they don't even play this week, do they? No,
they got a bye.
Yeah, they're on the bye. But just looking at their schedule last week, there were only like 3 games where I was really like, okay, I could see them losing like at the Saints and stuff like that. And that depends on what Saints team decides to show up. So I think that's Dallas's division to lose. If you're a team like the Eagles, and we can just go right. I think we're both in agreement that Green Bay is going to just roll. So we'll kind of slide over to the Eagles Raiders. If you're a team like the Eagles, I'm for getting. At this point, I feel like you just kind of want to keep players healthy. You don't want any major injuries, and you want to get some reps. Like, I want to see some chemistry between Hurts and Smith. Wait,
yep.
Smith. That I'd like to see some of that chemistry format. I'd like to see them get Miles Sanders figured out in that offense, like get him a role, figure out something with him. There are just some question marks with the Eagles I'd like to see them work out. But yeah, it's kind of like you said at this point for them, sure, you'd like to, for pride reasons, finish higher in the division, but at the same time, you have the 3 first-round picks. Like, you're playing in a way for next year because you're going to reload, get some fresh talent in there, and come out the gates. It's kind of like, and it's at the Raiders. I think the Raiders are going to win this. I don't see a reason why they wouldn't. I don't think it's going to be like a blowout like we're predicting for the other team. I don't even know what's the line in this one. 3. Ooh,
it's an Eagle line, right? I'm not gonna pick them to win, right? It's a winnable game though. The Raiders, came out smoking. Had the Gruden factor thrown in there. And have, they bounced back last week, but, they're also playing different competition. So I can see this game going anywhere, really. I think their game relies heavily on Derek Carr passing the ball. And I think the Eagles defense is sneakily better against the pass than they have been in the last 5 years. So we'll see. I'm picking the Raiders though. So really want to, I'm going to sediment I'm going to rehash your sentiments, right? I want to see Miles Sanders carry the ball 15 plus times, plus a few other touches catching the ball. He has to run the ball 15 plus times. I'm benching him this week, and that's the week he's going to have 23 carries for 192 yards and 4 touchdowns. You watch. It's going to happen. That's why I don't pick Eagle players for my fantasy team, because I'm ready to bench Devontae Smith too. I have both of them.
Well, see, it's funny because for the longest time, the Browns didn't have anyone worth drafting in fantasy. Like there was a couple years where Trent Richardson was like, he was a late first, early second round back. But for the longest time, the Browns didn't have anyone worth drafting whatsoever. Maybe the kicker, if your league played a kicker, that was about it. Yeah. And so now it's kind of nice that every year I can get a quality Brown or two on my roster and do some damage with them.
I'd like to see how Dallas Goedert does without Zach Ertz on the team anymore. Right? Let's see what happens there.
Isn't he out because of COVID? Didn't I see that? Goddard?
Is he?
I could have sworn I read because I had him in the other league and I traded him. And then I remembered, I thought I saw last night something about him being on the COVID list.
Nope.
Okay. Maybe I misread it. I just thought that's what I saw. So real quick question, just because you think the Eagles are going to play them pretty tightly, the Raiders, that is. How do you think the Eagles will do against the Broncos? Just out of curiosity.
How do I think the Raiders do against the Broncos?
No, I'm sorry, not the Raiders. The Eagles against the Broncos. Broncos.
I think they keep it tight. Eagles have a good defense, man. And Sirianni has proven he needs to find an offensive coordinator. Like you have too much talent on that team. Like I know the offensive line has been hurt, but there's still some big boys up front, right? And just
right.
And let them eat, man. Let them go run block. It's going to set up Jalen Hurts to be way more successful.
Well, and like you've kind of touched on in the past, why the Eagles don't run a lot more RPO, I don't understand. Because like Jalen Hurts, Miles Sanders, and Smith would be perfect for the RPO. So why they're not doing that, I don't know. And I feel like that's a big question mark heading into the offseason. They got to figure out why you're not doing that with those players specifically.
And I feel like if you want Gainwell in the game, put him in the slot.
Right.
So they have Smith and Rager, right? Smith and Rager. Hold on. So you got Smith and Rager. Number 3 is who? Fulgham? Come on. Just put Gainwell in the slot, right? Let him go out there. Still have Sanders on the field. You got Goddard and you have Hurts, right? It just doesn't make any sense to me why they don't package the offense to be scary, right? Like any one of those guys can burn you, right? So even if you decide to double team Smith, you still got to worry about Gainwell, still got to worry about Rager, you still got to worry about Goddard, and you still have to worry about Sanders. Somebody's going to be open, and all of them can make plays.
Right.
I just don't get it. Is it the fact that like when they played, who did they lose to last week?
I have to look.
They lost 26-22.
Tampa Bay, yeah. They played
And
Tampa Bay.
they played them tight, right? Like Tampa Bay only put up 26 points, but they didn't run the ball until the fourth quarter. And it looked like Jalen was running for his life for the first three quarters. Like he just didn't have any time, right? So, again, let the big boys eat and let them go out and run block for a little bit. Let them muscle up. Play the game. I don't know. But that's why I'm on a podcast and not an NFL sideline.
Well, I was going to say, after we're done commissioning our new college football league we made, we can go run the offense for a team. I think
somebody.
Real quick, there's one last point I wanted to bring up about OBJ, not to just completely cut it back to the Bengals or the Browns, but I just wanted to bring this up. The one telling play that happened was there was a kind of a trick play they tried to run to Schwartz, where it was a handoff to Johnson and he flipped the ball to Schwartz running the other way. That's an OBJ play. Yeah, that is an OBJ play. OBJ should be running that play. The fact that he wasn't, I think, is very telling. It's the one thing I noticed, and that's all I wanted to say. I meant to say it when we were talking about the Browns. I just forgot about it. And talking about, Gainwell and all that made me think about it remember it for whatever reason. So
run that play with Gainwell.
Yeah.
So I'm not impressed with Sirianni. You know how I feel. It sounds like a red wine that you buy at 7-Eleven.
Do you want me to change the intro?
Yeah.
We need a new Loy soundbite. All right. Yeah. I'll go back and listen for some sound bites. I got to start deleting our old episodes. I have like all of them on my computer still, like all 40 some odd episodes now. Anyway.
Chiefs Titans. Chiefs Titans.
So this is must win for the Chiefs, right?
Yes.
I don't think they have the defense to stop Derrick Henry. I think Derrick Henry rumbles for another freaking 190 yards and 3 scores. I don't see him stopping Derrick Henry.
I don't think they have the pass defense to stop Ryan Tannehill. And who would have thunk that those words would come out of anybody's mouth, right? They don't have the defense to stop Ryan Tannehill, let alone Derrick Henry. They're in fucking trouble.
So fun fact, my 2 fantasy quarterbacks in our league are Derek Carr and Ryan Tannehill. Without looking at it, who do you think's projected for more points this week?
Tannehill.
Well, they're both high, yeah. Tannehill by a point. Tannehill's projected for 20, which is huge because he hasn't scored anywhere near 20 all year. So the fact that he's projected for 20 against the Chiefs. All that being said, do you think the Titans do it? Do you think the Titans win?
Yeah.
I think Derrick Henry's enough to keep the Chiefs off the field.
It's in Tennessee, right?
Yep, it's at Tennessee.
Yeah. Yeah, they win. So points per game, Tennessee's not that far behind them, and they're giving up less points per game. They're giving up less yards per game, and it's not that close.
So, question. Let's just play it forward. So we're in agreement that the Titans probably win this game, right?
Yep.
What happens with the Chiefs? Do the Chiefs make the playoffs this year?
No.
That's
they would have to run the table after that. And I don't think they have I don't think they got the ammo to do that.
Yeah, their whole team seems to just be Mahomes, Kelsey, and Hill. And if any one of them have an off game, that's it.
I think they're looking at 10-7 or 11-6. Does 11-6 get you in the playoffs in the AFC?
You think the Chiefs are looking at 11-6?
Yep.
So you think they don't? So if they lose to Tennessee, they're 3-4. So you're saying they would only lose 2 games the rest of the year?
Well, I said 10-7 or 11-6.
Okay.
That's what I said. But my question is, if they finish on the better end of that, does 11-6 get you in the playoffs in the AFC? I don't think it does. It gets you in a tiebreaker. It gets you, week 17 or week 18 actually now is very interesting for them. but I don't we did this a few weeks ago. Let's do it again. So they got the Titans. I think they lose.
Right.
So now they're 3-4. Giants win. Packers.
I'm gonna say lose. It's just based off of the fact that they both have good offenses. Packers whenever you have two good offenses going against each other, the team with the slightly better defense, and the Packers are way better on defense.
And it's in Lambeau.
Yeah, that's a loss. So they're back to 500, right?
So win, loss. No, they'd be 4-5.
So they're
at
game
that
under.
point.
Okay.
Right at Raiders.
At Raider, ooh.
They win.
We'll give them that one. So they're, what would that be? I'm sorry, I lost count. 5-5.
5-5.
All right.
Versus the Cowboys.
Cowboys win. Unless something happens between now and then, I don't see the Cowboys losing that game.
Versus Broncos.
They'll win. So 6-6.
6-7. Right.
No, they were 5-5. Lost to the
So let's
Cowboys.
just count wins. They're going to beat the Giants. They're going to beat the Raiders. They're going to beat the Broncos. They play the Raiders again.
I think they split with the Raiders. I think the Raiders take one.
Okay. So we'll give them that. At the Chargers.
Loss.
Versus the Steelers.
Win.
At Bengals.
Oof. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'll give them a win just for the sake of continuing the segment. I'd have to look more at that game as it happens.
At Broncos.
Win. So that's 6 wins. So they have 3 right now.
So they're 9-8.
9-8. They don't make the playoffs at 9-8.
9-8.
And that's with us giving them Cincinnati, which I don't think is,
At Cincinnati, no less.
Yeah. I mean, that's with us giving them at Cincinnati. So,
yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I think we can say here in week 7 that the Chiefs aren't going to make it.
That's a bold statement, man. Right? It's a bold statement for us to predict in week 7 the Chiefs will not make the playoffs. But I agree with it.
How they're going to play, I can't see how they do that. Like their defense would have to do a complete 180, right?
Yep. They'd have to make some vicious trades in the next week. November 2nd is the trade deadline. They need some help.
I'm glad you brought that up. I want to get to the trade deadline here in a minute. I want to do a fantasy trade situation. But we'll come back to that in a second. This week there's a lot of good teams going against crappy teams. You got the Lions at Rams, so Rams should easily win that. Bucks over Bears should be pretty easy. So the only other good game. So before we get to the Bengals or Ravens,
let's just go through it real quick. Bucks and Bears, Buccaneers, Cardinals, Texans, Cardinals.
Yep.
Rams, Lions, Rams. And unless Jared Goff is feeling frisky and goes the fuck off, but that's a 1 in a million shot. Yeah. Ravens, Bengals.
That's the game I want to talk about. We'll come back to that.
We'll come back to that. Giants, Panthers in New York. I think the Panthers win that game, man.
Yeah, I'll say the Panthers.
You got Barkley sitting, Tony sitting, Galladay sitting.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Jets, Patriots.
Pats.
Patriots. Dolphins, Falcons.
It's the pillow fight of the week.
Falcons.
I think the Falcons, yeah.
Falcons
I think we're
win that game.
even on all these teams. Colts, Niners is the only other one.
Colts, Niners. I mean, Niners are banged up.
I think
they're banged up. Bad.
But I think their defense is good enough to I don't think the Colts have enough of an offense to.
Line is 4 right now.
Line is 4, so it's I mean, so that's saying if it was a completely neutral field, the Niners are just the better team.
They're 0-2 at home.
Yeah, their 2 losses are to Green Bay and.
I'm going to go out on a limb and go Colts.
Colts. All right, I'll take the Niners just so we disagree on a game.
Seahawks Saints.
Oh, forgot about that one. Oof. I'm gonna say
it's in Seattle.
Saints have good luck in Seattle. I'm gonna go with the Saints.
Okay. So that leaves us
with the game of the week.
The Bengals and the Ravens.
At Ravens. What's the line?
Is that the game of the week?
I think so.
It's a 1:00 game right now.
Yeah, and it's the only game that's got 2 teams with winning records against each other.
What's the 4:00? Well, the 4:00 game is typically the game of the week, though.
I mean, with the way that I guess in the 4:00 window, I mean, the game of the week is either going to be Lions at Rams just because of the trade that happened. So you're following the story, or I guess Bears versus Bucks,
or Philly Raiders.
Philly Raiders, yeah. I mean,
it's probably Philly Raiders if they're going for fan bases.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah. Out of all the games, Bengals Ravens is the only winning record versus winning record.
Yeah, it's a good one.
What's the line?
The line right now is 6.5 for the Ravens. It's a big line.
I feel like that's a little too big.
That's a big line. I mean, the Ravens did just completely demolish somebody, though.
The Chargers.
Yeah.
They weren't. Yeah, it wasn't some schmuck team.
They weren't even playing.
Yeah, it was like 30-something to 6, if I remember correctly.
Bengals have a slightly better defense. Ravens have a better offense. The Ravens are putting up a ungodly 436 yards a game. Bengals are giving up 350, so something's got to give there.
Right.
The Bengals are putting up 364. The Ravens are giving up 377. So if just stat wise, right, Ravens should win this game. I don't think they cover the spread though.
Yeah, 6 points seems like too much for me. The other nod I'll give to the Ravens. Well, 2 more nods. One, it's at Baltimore, which helps, and 2, the Bengals are still young. You know, like they're kind. I mean, for as much as you said the Eagles are playing with house money, I feel kind of like the Bengals are playing with house money too, because I think they're kind of a year ahead of maybe even they probably thought they were.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, yeah. Personally, I'd like to see the Bengals win, but yeah, I mean, especially the 6-point line, they're clearly indicating the Ravens.
The bulk of the Ravens' yards allowed, though, is passing yards. So they stopped the run, but they give up passing yards. But they did just beat my boy Herbert. So.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like, I feel like the Bengals are a slightly worse Chargers team right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Agreed.
So, I mean, they walloped them too. I mean, it's going to be Ravens now. Now that we're talking through it, I'll go Ravens. I just think since it's a division game, because as much as I'll say the Bengals are a year ahead, they're also young enough to not know they're supposed to get blown out in this game. So I'll say Ravens by 4, something like that. Like I'll say like 27. Well, yeah, we'll say 28-24. That's where I'll go with that.
Ooh. Go 31-27.
31-27. All right.
Yeah.
Man, did we agree on everything except the Colts this week?
And that one was just a coin flip, really, to be honest.
Yeah.
So.
Oof. So wrap up week 7. what I want to talk about real quick with the trade deadline quickly approaching, fantasy trades. If you were to see the Eagles trade, and we'll leave draft picks out of it, just like acquire a player and who you'd be willing to give up for him, what would you do?
Anybody?
I mean, it's got to be realistic. Like, yeah, like they're not going to acquire like, Patrick Mahomes for.
Let's they need a linebacker.
Okay. You know who's got a linebacker?
Who?
Browns.
Who?
Mac Wilson. You can have him on the cheap.
You don't need him anymore.
Yeah. Realistically speaking, that would be like Mac Jones for like a 5th round pick is probably about what that would do. But you can even throw picks in because that's how these trades get done. No one trades players for players straight up anymore.
No, it's late round draft picks. Do you think Deshaun Watson gets traded?
I mean, they got to do something with him, right? Because, I mean, at this point, how many years does he have left on his contract?
I'm not even sure.
Because, I feel like he just resigned, so he's probably got a few. He's probably got a couple, but they got to do something. I mean, he's the only asset they have, right? Like outside of maybe Cooks.
I think that if the Browns get Cooks,
that's who so my trade is so it's kind of going two layers here. Now I know players are injured and whatnot, but I would take our freshly minted Johnson. I'd shine him up real nice. I'd package him with OBJ. And maybe, we could probably do this straight up for Braden Cooks and what's their running back's name that was on the he was on the Cardinals for a while. He used to be really good. Now he's
David Johnson.
That's the trade I would like to see. It gives the Texans a player I can think of off the top of my head. It maybe gives Deshaun Watson incentive to stay. It gives them a better running back, at least on paper, at least, eye test wise than anything they have going on right now. And it gets OBJ's contract off the books. We hope that Cooks has a better, chemistry with Baker. It lets Schwartz slide into that pure over the top threat that he was drafted to be. And it gives us an extra running back for our injury woes right now. And who knows, maybe put David Johnson behind our line, and maybe not going to say he's going to be like 2017 DJ, but maybe we can get 2019 DJ out of it.
He hadn't been the same since he broke his hand, man. He had that phenomenal season. He was the #1 draft pick in everybody's fantasy league, and he broke his hand in game 1.
Yeah,
that's and has never been the same.
Because if we don't include the running backs, then it would be like OBJ and see. I don't know. I'd assume if we were trading for Cooks with OBJ. Right. I feel like with the Browns would have to include a pick. Don't you think?
Really?
I think so. OBJ's
they came out the same year.
What?
They came out the same year. They were drafted in the same draft.
OBJ, since he's been with the Browns, he's only played like maybe half the games since coming to Cleveland.
Has Cook's been the same since he got knocked the fuck out by the Eagles? Because he got knocked the fuck out by the Eagles. That was one of the most vicious hits I've ever seen.
I will say this: I have him in my other fantasy league, and he puts up consistently 16 points a game. So
he has to, though. He plays for the Texans.
Right, but he's not going
You
to come
can
to
put
the
up
Browns.
10.
He's not going to be the Browns, come to the Browns and be a number one, and we're not heavy relying on the passing game. We just need the threat of it. And I just think he presents a better threat than OBJ because it's been exposed that OBJ, just for whatever reason, doesn't mesh with Baker Mayfield.
I don't know what's going on with OBJ, but I think that Cooks has better hand skills right now.
Yeah.
You know.
That's why I think like OBJ in a sixth for Cooks.
Problem. Do it.
Yeah.
Although ESPN is predicting you're going to trade for, I want to say, an offensive lineman and give up with Dallas. They're predicting Mac Wilson goes to Dallas, and you guys get an offensive tackle.
That wouldn't be bad. We need line depth. You know, the interesting thing that's going to happen, the one Brown to keep an eye on is David Njoku. He almost played his way out of Cleveland last year, but I'd argue he's our best like tight end by far this year.
Yeah.
So he'll be an interesting one to watch too. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, the NFL's never like baseball. There's never a lot of trades, but it'll be interesting to see who would be a buyer.
So the Bucks are a buyer. They need secondary help.
Mm-hmm.
The Chiefs are a buyer. They need defensive help. Right? Like if they win this game, they're buyers for sure. Right?
If they lose the game, are they still buyers?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Are you out of it at 3-4?
I think the AFC, yeah, I think so. Because their division's too tough. They're not gonna. I think at the end of the year they might split with the Raiders, but I think at the end of the year the Raiders are gonna have a better record than them.
So the Bills are 4-2. The Ravens are 5-1. Bengals are 4-2. Titans are 4-2. Chargers and Raiders are 4-2. Right. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams for 7 playoff spots, right?
And then you still got the Browns who are 4-3. You got the Bengals who, well, you already named the Bengals. So I mean, you got the Browns, so that's 7, and they'd have a 2-game lead if the Chiefs were to lose this weekend.
I think the Chiefs make it at 10-7, but if they go 9-8 like we predicted, they're in trouble.
Well, we're not even sure if they'll go 9-8 because
we're not
giving them Cincinnati. They could very be 8-9.
If there was ever a year that we were going to see a playoff race like we typically see in the NFC, we're going to see it this year in the AFC. It's come back down to earth. Like in years past, like the AFC was just monsters, right? Like any one of those teams. It was pretty much the Pats and everybody else. But like they had some quality teams in the playoffs. Everybody had a winning record, you know, and it wasn't even close, right? But the NFC this year, you know, the top 4 teams in my mind right now are all NFC teams.
Cardinals, Rams, Bucks, Cowboys.
Yep. As much as I hate to say it, but yep.
Yeah. You don't think the Ravens are better than the Cowboys?
Neutral field? No.
Okay.
No. So it's the 4 teams in NFC. Either they have a stellar defense or they make defensive plays at the right time.
Right.
You know, so that's the recipe, right? Like you have to have a good defense or a defense that makes opportunities happen. And the Cowboys do that, right? Like there was that thing going back and forth on the page where, you know, a Giant fan wanted to, you know, throw some shade at what's his fucking name? Trayvon Diggs, right? Oh, he's a ball hog, man. He still gets burned, blah, blah, blah. He has 10 interceptions in his first 16 games. Shut the fuck up.
I picked up Dallas. I picked up Dallas's defense in the other league just simply because of him, because that's how you get points. Real quick, just to cut back to the games. It's the last thing I want to talk about. Just what is the line on the Cardinals Texans? Just out of curiosity, because I said
34. 34. No, I'm kidding.
I was like, Jesus.
It's a college spread. No, it's let me find out. It's do you want to bet if it's double digit before I pull it up?
Oh, it's easily double digits.
It's easily. Is it 2 touchdowns?
What's been the largest spread we've seen this year?
It's this game.
Is it?
It's
Okay.
18.
18. I was gonna say 18. Wow. Okay, because I did say I don't usually predict teams to win by 10. Definitely will predict them to win by 10. Do they cover 18?
Yep.
You think?
Yeah. I'm gonna have to put a parlay bet in and include that game because the payoff is gonna be very enticing. If I parlay that with some other games, hell yeah.
What's the over under on that game?
47.5.
How does that wait a minute? So that means
38-20 is 58 points. So 28-10 is 18. It's easily a 28-10 game.
yeah, 4 touchdowns. Yeah, no. You think the Texans maybe keep it close for a quarter, or you think it's just going to be?
I think it's balls out. I think Davis Mills is in trouble, man. I think he's going to get sacked 17 times.
Oh man.
I mean, who do they have? Who do they have? The Cardinals have a sneaky good defense. Okay.
They have the number 1 overall defense, don't they? That's where it's up there.
That's a good question. Depends on how you rate it. You know, I think that they rate it typically by total yards. Dude, it's still raining. Jesus. So they have the number 3 scoring defense. That's pretty awesome. They've given up 109 points in 6 games.
Yeah.
So that's 18 points a game.
Yeah. I know this. They're in our league. They are my fantasy defense right now. They are projected to get 11 points, which is crazy for defense.
Yeah. They have the number 9 passing defense and the number 24 rushing defense. And if I go by total yards that they've given up, they're number 11.
Yeah.
So let's go to offense.
And it's at Arizona. Yeah, it's a bad week to be a Texan. They're gonna maybe they need to take my strategy I was talking about the Browns and just rest all their starters, just put their second string out there. Why risk anybody, right? Maybe this is the game you start Deshaun Watson. Take him off the healthy scratch list.
Where's team offense? What the fuck?
Their offense has to be like top 3.
I want to see what Houston is.
Oh, Houston. If I was to guess, I'm just going to say 27th. Because I'm going to guess the Jets are worse.
18.
Oh, 18? Wow. Okay.
They have the number 4 passing offense.
That's because they're always behind, though, so they're throwing a lot.
Yeah.
That's Brandon Cooks, baby. That's why Browns need to trade for him. I'll buy a Cooks jersey.
They have the number 31 rushing offense.
Also why their passing offense is so high.
So they're playing into Arizona's strength. Their strength is Arizona's strength. Their weakness is Arizona's weakness. So
I mean,
doesn't bode well for the Texans.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, they'll still get some passing yards just because they're going to throw it. They're going to have to throw it 80 times this game to even have a chance. But and by chance, I mean to cover. But yeah, it's yikes. Okay, well, we've officially spent way more time on Texans Cardinals than I think anyone really needed to. But
I mean, I think we need to give the Cardinals a little bit more love than we do.
Yeah, that's fair.
They're the only remaining unbeaten team. Like, we should definitely spend a little bit more time digging into them. Give them their just due.
Oh, normally I would. It's against the Texans. There's only so many ways I can say the Cardinals are going to destroy the Texans.
Well, here's an underlying factor as to why either. And this goes back to a conversation we had early on, I think in preseason. JJ Watt is playing good.
Yeah.
He's been a disruptor. It doesn't matter that he's not an every down player. Like, when he's in there, he's making shit happen. And he's playing his old team. And so is Hopkins. I think both of them want to have big games.
Yep. I feel bad for the Texans. It's not going to be
18. That's an insane line.
Yeah.
I haven't bet a game all season for real. I got to find a parlay for this weekend to throw that game in. You know, a little $20, $25 parlay, you know.
I mean, I feel like this is the week. I feel like this is the week you make that 16-team bet, you know?
It might be the week I make that.
Turn that $25 into $700,000. I feel like this is the week to do it if you're going to do it, because it seems so obvious, right? Like, the only question mark games are the Niners, Colts, and I'll say Dolphins, Falcons, just because you never know what Falcons you're going to get. But every other game seems pretty easy to pick. So
the Falcons should win that game hands down. Hands down. Like, give me the passing leaders.
Yeah, but funny
things.
Matt
Matt Ryan's number 4 right now, dude.
Right.
For total passing yards.
Well, that's because they're also always behind. Well, that and what's his face?
Wrong season.
Patterson's been having himself a season.
Wrong season. My bad.
But
that was last year. So he's number 25.
Oops.
I guess Julio was kind of important to your team.
That's why we need a producer. So we
I guess Julio was kind of important.
A little bit.
What's his face? Daniel Jones is still, he's number 22. I go by QBR. You know that. He's number 22.
All right, brother. Well, I'm gonna cut it there. We need to go get dinner before it gets much later. So
all right, my man. Have a good
podcast.
Weekend.
I feel like we got a lot of good stuff in this week. So
I think we did.
Yeah. I will catch you next week. And enjoy the games.
All right, man. You too.
Take it easy.
Later.